Today is the World Suicide Prevention Day, and I'm going to share one with you. But first of all, I want to give you a scenario, and you give me your views or your thoughts, right? So this goes to the ladies. Now, ladies, assuming you are dating a guy like Brian, right? You are in a romantic relationship, right? In the process, you have shared some love, and unfortunately, after 2 to 3 months, you find yourself pregnant. Now, when you try to explain this to Brian, he rejects you. Back home, you know your parents are fire eaters. Your father can't listen to you. Your mother can't listen to you. Now you have nowhere to run to. Right? So your lover has rejected you. Friends have run away from you. Your parents don't want to see you. Now you are by yourself. Now for the ladies, what do you think will come into your mind? What action or decision are you likely to make? Can I have one lady respond to that honestly? Because now at that point you're feeling like, okay, I have no life beyond this point. So what kind of decision will you make? Because now they don't want you, the community don't want you, your parents don't want you, your boyfriend don't want you, your friends, no one wants you. Now you're by yourself. What usually comes to your mind? Ladies? Suicide. That's quite a good try. Any other lady? Right, let's just use that response. So what comes in your mind, first of all, I've said is suicide. Now today, that's our topic. Today is on the 10th of September 2025. And we are joining the rest of the world in observing the World Suicide Prevention Day. On this day, our aim is to put the agenda globally and regionally, but also to seek and to show how action must be taken locally. And these actions start with you and me, right? So this day underlines our responsibility collectively to save lives that may be at stake, which is possible. And yes, we can. Now, first of all, this lady has just given a view that she would think of suicide. Right? So first of all, what is suicide? How do you understand what is suicide? So suicide basically is an act or instance of ending one's life voluntarily or intentionally. You just decide to cut your life short. Maybe because you are not in a position to make a certain decision, or you feel like you are out of the box. Now, what if you try this act and this act fails? Now this is what we call a suicidal attempt. You attempted, but God gave you another chance, right? So, each and every one of us has ever gone through some hard situations where you are not in a position to make a decision. Like what she has said, now she feels rejected both by the parents, the friends, the community. Now you feel like you are a burden to that community, right? So for those of us who are in this room, have you ever thought of committing suicide? Have you? Have you ever found your life in a situation where you feel like, at this point, I better die? Have you? I can see some say they have ever, which is true, right? So globally, suicide is a public health challenge. An estimated 800,000 to 1 million people lose their lives by suicide. at least every year, we record 14 million cases of suicide attempts. Close home here in Kenya, we averagely record total deaths of four deaths a day, and found that 70 cases of attempted suicide in a single day. To me, those numbers might be high due to underreporting. Now, we lose 4 people for lives in a single day, and 470 people averagely attempt to commit suicide in a single day. For those among us who are in this room, are you one of them? Are you? That's good. So suicide is the third leading cause of death among people between the age of 15 and 29. Most of you in this room, I believe you are at 20s. Now that's the point where the devil is planning to come for you. Are we together? So basically, suicide is not an individual act. Suicide is a social act. It usually happens in circumstances where you feel like I doesn't fit in. Right? I'm a reject in this group. Because I want to ask you a question, honestly. If you ever had one person whom you count on, will you even think of committing suicide? If you have that person or a group you can count on in whatever situation, can you commit suicide? Can you? You cannot. So, according to Emile Durkheim, this is our French sociologist who formally established the disciplines of sociology. He describes to us, or he identified 4 types of suicide. Right? Number 1, we have the egoistic suicide. This occurs when a person becomes socially isolated. Right? Socially, you feel what? Isolated. Or you feel that you have no place in that society. And in most cases we have recorded, even in this country, even worldwide, is about this egoistic suicide. That isolation. You find yourself in a room where you are alone. You are not in a position to seek help from maybe a nearby person, right? So the first type is egoistic suicide. The second one is altruistic suicide. This occurs when one sacrifices his or her life in order to save a group or to benefit a group, right? Like a soldier who's going for war to fight for his country, right? Maybe to fight for his community or his family, basically. That's a way of committing suicide, right? So now that is the altruistic suicide. You commit it for the sake or for the good of a certain group or a certain person. Come together. Then identified type number 3 as anomic suicide. Anomic suicide basically occurs when an individual is morally confused or lacks social direction, which is related to social or economic upheaval. These are situations that suddenly crop up. Like I've had some funny cases, we find a person has just hanged himself because a scenario has not won the trophy. Do you have such cases? Are there? Timu yetu sasa hajachukua trophy, achane kufa. But I think that at some point that is stupid. Now, okay, a team, how? So basically, we need to reach out to these people. Then number 4, we have the last type of suicide as per Emile Durkheim as fatalistic suicide. It occurs when a person is excessively regulated with their futures pitilessly blocked and passions violently choked. Right? Like when a barren woman commits suicide. You know, I usually hear in some communities, if you're a barren woman, they feel like now you have no future. No. You have no meaning in this community. So now that is fatalistic, right? Now we'll say that, okay, if I don't have meaning and that doesn't count, because now my future, my future has been blocked. My passions have been choked, so I better die. You can hear also of young pregnant teenage girls, like the example we started with, right? So you feel like this has rejected me, my parents have rejected me, my friends have rejected me. Now who am I? So I don't have space. Now you decide to take off your life. Then we have these divorced women. It also falls under fatalistic suicide. Yeah, divorced men. You know, if you are divorced, some men will come and joke around you. You know, you man, you don't have children, you're getting old, you know, you die like a boy, you're a jack, you see. Such kind of funny descriptions. So that might force you to say, okay, I have no meaning. So let me take my life, right? So suicide is not an individual act, as I said, it's a social act. People commit suicide because they're not supported by the society, or they feel they are not loved by their own families. In general, suicide has some connection with social rules or standards and the individual. Now, we should ask ourselves, why do people commit suicide? Or even attempt to commit suicide? Okay, what do you think can attempt a person to commit suicide? From your opinions?
Is neglected. So the person is neglected.
So the person is neglected, okay, right? Any other attempt?
Depression.
Depression, right? What else? Right, so it doesn't matter your age, whether you're 10, 20, or 30. It doesn't matter your gender, whether you're male or female. It doesn't matter your race, you're black or white, Asian, Latin. All of us are vulnerable to that narrative, right? So basically, people commit suicide even by being men. You know, being a man, you have a responsibility. You know, a man is just not just a trouser. Not because you wear a trouser, you are a man. There are some huge responsibilities you carry around, right? So you find, like, for instance, you are at your 25, 27 to 30s. You have tried to settle. You need to start a family. That's failed. You have tried everything you can to be yourself, but it fails. Not simply because you are a man, you say, okay, it seems in this world that doesn't fit you. So what do? Maybe I'll opt now and say, okay, let me just end my story as I is now, right? So being male is also a challenge. Then we have these stressful life events. You know, you can live under stress, right? Maybe when you are a child, you are exposed to some traumatizing acts which keep on hunting you. So in the process, you feel like, let me just take myself, you know, because this thing, I feel like I fit. Like not yesterday, the other day before yesterday, I was having a conversation with a clerk who's working in the county government, the office of the environment, chief environment, the office, the Sakajes office. So when I posted, my lecture is ready. Now she came and told me, you know, the lecture is ready, you know, I'm a victim of suicide. But she felt open to share her story. So she began when she was young. You know, her father passed on when she was only 4 years old. Now at the age of 9, she was living in a auntie's house, right? So there somehow, this auntie who didn't collect quite well. So she used to receive loans from that auntie. You can go even for 2 days without taking a meal. You know, when you go to school, you don't have the essentials you need to be in school. So this girl, since she was young and she felt like, okay, no one can help me. Now she decided to take a bottle of kerosene and she drank. As young as she was, she knew that if I drink this kerosene, maybe I'll die slowly. Not realize it. She drank the kerosene. Right? Now she was waiting. Why am I not? I'm still alive. What was the issue? After that, as young as she was, she realized, no, it is not possible, right? I just can't take away my life. It is not possible. After that is when the Savior came now. She had drunk kerosene like today. The following day, a certain auntie is coming for her. Now come stay with me. A much better auntie. You see. So if she had died that day, his auntie would have found her. Right? But because she attempted and it failed, that's why the auntie came the following day. And right now she's learned. She's a clerk in a county office. Right? So that symbolizes the second chance, the second opportunity, right? So it can also be due to intrapersonal and relationship problems. This is often. We have had cases that guys in a certain university is just thrown herself from a fourth-story building. You hear those cases, right? So there might be some conflicts in those romantic relationships, right? Like you, for instance. Since you have grown up, you have heard of suicide cases. Now, what are the causes? What did you hear? What were the causes? What do the people commit suicide? Especially these young people in the bracket we are right now. Why? Heartbreaks, right? If you now have broken, you feel like the world is ending, so you take away. Any other issue you have had? We have said about those the love of football. You know your team hasn't taken a trophy, so you feel like now, let me just take my life, right? So there are many instances. Then you can feel helpless or hopeless. That's true. At some point you feel like you are helpless, you're hopeless, and you decide to quit. Then finding it difficult to make a decision. Now what she started saying, that now you have been found in a position where you can't make a decision. You are a reject in every corner, right? So that can also be a factor. Then there's that family history of suicide. There's a certain family we usually hear. In that family, a person must hang on herself. In that family, a person must. So that's not the history of suicide in a certain family. That's also a cause. Then we have exposure to family violence, including physical or sexual abuse. That's true. If you're physically or sexually abused, especially from the ladies, you feel like now they know me. They can't respect me, so I need to go away. Then we have these financial and economic difficulties. That usually happens, right? You know, you are employed somewhere in a company, then the HR comes and tells you, you know, you're not an employee anymore. They're giving me a 2 months now. Notice. So as a man, you go back and try to think of the call. You know, I have a family. I need to pay rent. I need to pay school fees. I need to buy food. So the pressure you get, now you finally make a decision that instead of just being here and watching my children suffer, now I better take my life. Take my life. And what's the fact is, men commit suicide 3 to 4 times more than women. Do you acknowledge that? 3 to 4 times more than women. To me now, we as a boy child, we should be keen enough not to find ourselves in such a situation. Now, what are the consequences? What are the sorrows of suicide? Basically, it cuts a life short. You know, when your life is cut short, basically, you have unfinished dreams. So it devastates the family, friends, and loved ones, right? Like now you can imagine that person who has just committed suicide because they have not carried a trophy, right? So now you're bringing devastation to the family, to your friends, maybe your colleagues, right? And many other people maybe who loved you at some point. Also, children of the people who died by suicide are likely to die by suicide also. Assume someone's parent took his or her life through suicide. A child has been born. She's growing or he is growing. At a point now, if he or she feels like it doesn't fit him, will it be hard to commit suicide? Because even my father did, my mother did, so is it a new concept? So that's just a normal narrative, right? So those who have survived a suicide attempt might end up with severe disabilities. Is this possible? You find a man has just decided to throw himself maybe from a 4-story building down. Now when he reaches on the ground, you know, He's waiting to die, but he's not dying. Now the pain, you see. So you might attempt to commit suicide, but in the process, it fails. So you're left with severe injuries and the disabilities or whatever. Now, how do we change this narrative, right? How do we prevent suicide? That's now the great topic of this day. How do we change a narrative? Right? So suicide is a major public health challenge which is not inevitable. You can interrupt someone's suicidal thoughts. You could save a life, right? So this World Suicide Prevention Day, we are sharing one important message. If you think of someone who might be suicidal, take action, interrupt their thoughts, and show that you love. I want you to know that if you think someone might be suicidal, take action, interrupt their thoughts, and show them that you love. Simply that, nothing more. That's how we can change our narrative. Right? So the theme, this year's theme during the World Suicide Prevention Day is all about creating hope through action. How do you create hope through action? How do you conduct yourself? Right? How do you go about issues? How do you go about these hard situations you encounter in your day-to-day life? Right? So now that's creating hope through action. Now this is a call on us to challenge harmful myths, reduce stigma. We should also foster open and compassionate conversations about suicide. If you can't be open and compassionate enough with your friend and you have that suicidal thought, that friendship might not help you because you have not been open, so I might not be in a position to understand what are you going through, right? So also, it's all about shifting. It's all about shifting from silence and misunderstanding to openness, compassion and sympathy with support. Right? So if you're going through a hard situation right now, shift from silence, shift from misunderstanding, right? And let's all be open, let's all be empathy enough and support each other. We should create an environment where each and every single person feels free to speak up and seek help. Now that's the environment you should be creating around yourself. Let me ask you a question right now. Do you have that one friend whom anytime you feel like this thing is striking me hard, do you have that friend whom you can just make a call and solve that situation? Do you? You should have one. A friend whom you feel free to contact and tell them, hey, I'm stranded, I need help, right? Then, also you should note that survivors of suicide should be treated with compassion and not judgment. In most cases I usually see, if a person has ever attempted to commit suicide and it failed, now they're like, avoid that person. See? That person is stupid. That person tried to take his or her life because of this and this. Avoid such people. So now at that point, that's bad. Now again, you are isolating that person. You're making that person feel like he or she belongs to the wrong place, right? So these survivors of suicide, they should be treated with compassion and not judgment. Okay. Like for instance, in this room, if you see your friend at the far corner, he or she seems stressed, you should find time and visit that friend and ask her, what's wrong? Are you okay? Right? Or okay, basically, what do you take friendship to be? We are friends to help each other, right? So if you feel like that friend has changed, like I remember some weeks back, as I was still a representative, I went off for some 2 days without posting, doing whatever. The third day, as I just accompanied from this class, text me. And what's funny, she's a guy. She asked me, oh no, why are you silent? Nowadays, you are not like you were before, right? And in truth, I was in a hard situation. So though she is not a close friend, but she could realize that this Brian is not. There must be something. So what if I had a suicidal thought? She could have said that, right? So I have such friends. Friends who can just monitor and realize that today, no, this guy is not doing good, right? So I want you to remember, suicide is not an answer. It is a distraction. Are we together? Also, when you feel like giving up, just remember where you have held her for so long. There's this common saying, if you're going through hell, do what? What does the saying say? If you're going through hell, if you're going through hell, keep going. Are we together? Also, there's this, though no one can go back and make a brand new start, but anyone can make a start with a brand new ending. Sometimes a person usually feels like if the clock was to be reversed, I go back to my 20s, I would have done this, right? But which is impossible. So though no one can go back and make a brand new start, anyone can start and make a brand new ending. There's always this narrative of among men, asking for help that demonstrates a sign of weakness. No. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's like using a flashlight when you are lost in the dark. So we men, we like that narrative that, if you're a man, you should not seek for help. You're a man enough, you can do it alone. There are some situations you can't do it alone. You need 1 or 2 or 3 ideas for you to get through. Then, it's all about friendship, right? If you feel, when you don't have the strength of making or taking another step, you can ask your friend to pull you. Are we together? Like now you're stranded. You feel like now I don't know what to do about this. You're not in a position to make a decision. What do you feel shameful of asking your friend for advice? You should. Are we together? So if you feel like you're in a position where you can't take another step, you can ask your friend to go. Finally, there are far better things ahead than what we leave behind today. Are we together? There are far better things ahead than what we leave behind today. Never be mindful about what happened to you the other day. That day is past. Think about tomorrow. Usually say, a new day, another chance. You can rewrite your destiny. You can clear your path. It doesn't matter. So this thing, creating hope through action, that's what I want you to stick with. The way you connect yourself, ensure is a sign of hope. If you connect yourself like an hopeless creature, that's how others take it. Right? So let's create hope through our actions. Come together. You might be having questions. Is there another question? Maybe to ask. Or maybe anyone with a testimony. You know, some might be having testimonies in this room. Is there anyone with a testimony? No. Don't feel shy to express your thought. Maybe you might save a life today by just giving your testimony. Maybe there was a certain person who just had planned, I know he or she has bought poison just under the bed. He or she's waiting for maybe 9, 10. We take it. Do you have testimonies? Do we? So on this day, all I want you to uphold, if you think of a person who has a suicidal thought, take action. Interrupt their thoughts and save a life. All together. Thank you so much. I'm Brian Okari, your speaker. Thank you.